Welcome to the Climate Gap Quick Cuts, the podcast for busy people building climate solutions. We spotlight founders, builders, operators, and investors doing the hard work behind real progress. I'm Ben, co-founder of LMC. We connect climate tech companies with the people who make scale possible. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Climate Gap Quick Cuts. Today's episode is for every founder still playing by the old sales playbook: cold calls, bloated pilot funnels, and generic outbound. Andy Boliek, founder of BLUME, joins us to talk about what's broken in go-to-market and how the right messaging, research, and reps can be the unlock. From his days at JLL to leading GTM for 150 plus climate and proptech companies, Andy's really seen it all. If your growth is stalling, this one's for you. Let's get into it. Andy, thanks for joining. Could you kick us off with an introduction to you and your background?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ben. And shout out to you and Lewis. I've known both of you guys for quite some time now and really truly are the best in the game when it comes to talent in the space. So I'm Andy Boliek, founder and CEO of BLUME. I've been in sales and business development for over 20 years. Prior to founding BLUME, I helped grow the energy and sustainability group at JLL. That's where I kept seeing a frustrating pattern. Strong companies with great tech were struggling to break into the market, not because their product was bad, but because their go-to-market motion was way off. So I left JLL to build BLUME over about 6 years ago. And BLUME is a sales consulting and execution firm that works with tech and services companies in complex industries. For example, climate tech, prop tech, broader built environment, as well as a few other niche industries. We help companies figure out their message, build smart outbound systems, and scale faster. We've worked with, I would say, over about 150 startups and scale-ups, global enterprises like Siemens as well, helping them to launch and grow new business units. So I'm super excited to spend some time with you today, Ben, and share what we've learned.
It's an incredible transition, and you've touched on a little bit there about why you left a very successful career at JLL to found BLUME and build your own SDR engine. What were the broken pieces in the old GTM playbook that drove you to start from scratch? And how did you reshape your pipeline approach?
Yeah, great question. So when I was at JLL, we worked with a number of startups, external startups that were looking to obviously sell to our client base as well as our properties that JLL managed. And what I saw too many founders, really trying the same broken approach. They do one of two things. They either hire a lead gen agency or they'll try to build internally. Usually that results in sending thousands of templated emails, hoping for a pilot and praying it converts. And so what would happen is when that didn't work, they would assume that the market wasn't ready. And the problem wasn't really the product of the market necessarily, sometimes it was, but most of the time it was the playbook. So I built BLUME to fix that, to bring sort of strategy, research, and execution all under one roof. So we don't just necessarily generate leads. We're really design thoughtful outbound programs. And a little bit about our reps. Our reps are embedded, hands-on, held accountable for pipeline, not just pure activity, not vanity metrics. It's really not about activity from our perspective. It's not about more activity. It's about better and smarter activity.
You've worked with 150 plus prop tech clients selling wildly different products to the same buyers. How do you cut through the noise with a value prop that resonates?
The foundation of every good go-to-market motion is clarity, and that starts with a relevant message. So just to give you some examples, we've worked with a huge number of companies with offerings ranging from IoT sensors to sustainability analytics to pure SaaS companies. Often they're selling to the same personas. So, the products may be very different, but the personas buy the same way. And they buy based on two things. What's keeping them up at night? And we always want to know two things, basically. What's keeping this buyer up at night? And how do they describe that pain in their own words? I think it's really important to state, I can't state this enough, that a good value proposition does not start with your product's features. Just to repeat that, a good value prop does not start with features. It starts with the customer, their reality, right? So we've seen big unlocks just by reframing messaging in language the buyer actually uses. So as an example, one of our clients sold fault detection technology for HVAC systems, um, but they kept pitching energy optimization and they kept focusing in on the features and functionality. We shifted that message to encourage them to shift that message to avoiding tenant complaints and increasing NOI, net operating income. What we saw was their response rate nearly tripled. Same product, but a much better story. So the key in our view is, understanding that buyer persona, understanding what drives them, and having like supreme clarity around that.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen lots of broken GTM plays where people are just used to rolling out what might have worked in a different environment and trying to ram that home. I think the good operators know that generic blasts no longer work. How do you design targeted, research-driven outbound sequences that actually get responses?
Yeah, mass outreach campaigns just aren't effective for the most part. In fact, they can be brand damaging. Um, uh, we see companies that go the outsourcing route or even internal sometimes, you know, um, focusing on volume, focusing on a heavy volume of emails. That can be very brand damaging. So what we do at Bloom is we focus on highly targeted outreach. 50, and when I say highly targeted, I mean somewhere in the order of 50 to 100 key accounts at a time, right? Every sequence that we do, that includes multiple touch points, calling, emails, social media, et cetera. But every sequence that we do is built around who they are, what they're facing, and why now might be the right time to engage. We look at other indicators like recent funding, leadership changes, tech stack signals, even local policy shifts. As you know, Ben, in the climate tech space, local policy can have a big impact on whether someone is motivated to buy, whether it's an energy product or whatnot at the local and city level. But honestly, it's not really. It's not really rocket science. It's really just about having better inputs. So the way that we focus it on Blooms, every SDR and delivery manager does their own research. We don't have templated messages and scripts. They're structured with room for personalization and insight. And that's really how we generate these high value conversations with the real C-level decision makers who are making the decisions.
Right, you were talking about the sort of sequences that you guys have put together. Building an SDR team is one thing, making them smarter each week is entirely another thing. And I know that there'll be listeners perhaps having some similar challenges. What processes and metrics have you embedded to ensure you optimize every outreach, every sequence, and then every rep performance improves over time?
Yeah, well, first, it's important to talk a little bit about our technology stack. So we have a robust tech stack. We use probably about 9 or 10 different software platforms to help our team. The first is what's called Concert. It's an outbound dialing platform. We use something called Apollo, which I'm sure many of your listeners are familiar with, which is for primarily email sequencing. We use Zoom Info and Sales Intel for data. Now, then we get to the industry specific data. So we use something called CoStar, real estate database, ALN, which is the multifamily data source, Delve, and others that are sort of focusing on specific industry data sets. We use something called TIGA for social warming. And that's a really innovative tool that involves warming prospects through LinkedIn predominantly, but also through some email and several others. But I just say that as a backdrop. I mean, honestly, the tech is not what makes the difference. It's how we use the data from that technology to inform a responsive feedback loop. So every week, our reps and our delivery leads review things from the platforms and from the data that we're getting about number one, what messaging is landing. Or two, where in that cycle are prospects dropping off? Is it immediately? Are they not willing to, answer the phone, or are they not responding to outreach, or are they willing to take those conversations, but then they may fall off a little bit later throughout that process. And then also what's getting ignored. That's important data. So if we're doing an integrated campaign with specific messaging to a target ICP, we want to understand what's resonating with them and what's not. So the point is, we coach live, we adjust quickly. The reps that we have are not waiting or guessing. They receive daily feedback from our delivery management team as to how they can improve their campaigns. And that's really what makes outbound work from our perspective. Cohesive feedback loop that enables our team to get better and better each day. And that's really a critical part of what we do.
There's a lot there that resonates, and I know there's going to be some gems that people can pick up. If you could distill your entire playbook into one non-negotiable principle, what would it be?
Ask better questions. I think that's important, not just in sales, but in life. And I mean, the best reps don't come in hot with a pitch. They tend to slow down, they get curious, and they ask questions. So, for example, what is this buyer actually struggling with? Who's influencing the decision? What is going to derail the deal? We actually had one rep pause a sequence because they heard that one of their target prospects was going through an internal restructuring. They then took the time to do their research and sort of better understand what was really happening within the company. So that helped the rep to not only come to the conversation more informed, but to also better understand how our client's product was going to solve their problem. So yeah, I mean, the one principle I'd say is stay curious. That's first and foremost, and also trusting your own judgment as well is important.
Thank you ever so much, Andy. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think the insights are relevant for businesses across climate tech and wider. The way that you've simplified your GTM approach with a scalable, repeatable process is something that I think many should try and employ. So thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thanks again for having me, Ben. I really appreciate it. And I could just say, I really love conversations like this because, go-to-market strategy doesn't have to feel like guesswork. And I feel like that's the way some people are grasping at. There's a better way to do it. If your outbound isn't working, take a step back, audit your message, tighten your targeting, and remember to stay curious. At the end of the day, selling is about real, authentic conversations. One final thought, everyone's hearing about AI these days. We use it. We use it quite a bit, actually. But it's the relationships that will still win the deals. And that's really the playbook that we live by at BLUME. So again, appreciate you having me, Ben.
So what did we learn? Tech isn't the problem. Misaligned GTM strategy is. A strong value prop doesn't start with your features. It starts with your buyer's pain, in their own words. Mass outreach is dead. Research-led, account-based targeting is how you actually build pipeline. And the real unlock, asking better questions. Curiosity isn't soft. It's actually a strategy. Big thanks to Andy for dropping the playbook. This is Quick Cuts, short episodes, sharp insights, no filler. Catch you next time. You've been listening to the Climate Gap Quick Cuts. If you're building in climate tech, subscribe to hear more from the people making it happen.